Okay, we are live. Here we are live. It is 4 o'clock Brisbane or Australian Eastern Standard Time. Just making sure we're going live on all the platforms here. Should be good for LinkedIn. Should be good for Facebook. Here we are live. Let's make sure that this is all set up to go to where everybody can share it. Yes, we're good. Let's go. Let's go live. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Very excited to be back here with all of you live, back in the studio as well. As you can see, solved a lot of technical problems we were having with the studio and internet. That has now all been resolved, and being able to do our live streams back from here is fantastic. So today, it's time to lead different, time to learn different. Going onward from my new book that's just come out, it's time to lead different. And one of the things that we're challenging people on right now is that, with the world has changed, business has changed, people have changed, but leadership hasn't. So we need to look at not leading smarter, leading better. We need to lead different. We can't keep leading our organizations the way we had in the past when everything else has changed. So tweaking the old model of leadership and in a world where everything's changed just doesn't make sense. Buckminster Fuller said, if you want to change things, you don't do so by fighting the existing reality. You create a new model that makes the old model obsolete. So what we need to do is make a new model of leadership, because most of what we call leadership in the world today is just modern management practices. So I wrote It's Time to Lead Different to share a new model of leadership for the world, how to create human-centric organizations. Now, with that, of course, if we want to lead different, it would make sense then that we probably need to learn different. We need to learn leadership differently if we want to lead differently. And that's what we've been working with organizations on across 3 continents over 35 years, is learning how to learn differently. So I'm going to share with you today, obviously, the need to lead differently, but more importantly, why we need to learn differently and what that different learning would look like. There's actually chapter 15 in the book. It talks about it's time to learn different. And one of the lines I put in here at the bottom of the first page is, in a world where the most human organization wins, you cannot develop leaders within human training. So, as we said, most of what we call leadership in the world today is still just modern management practices. And in today's world, the most human organization is the one that's going to win. There are 2 things you're going to invest in, and that's AI and people and or leadership. All the rest of everything that happens in your business comes from those 2 things. So it's going to be the most human that's going to win. And so therefore, we need to have human-centric leadership, and most of what we teach isn't that. So that's what this is about. So let's dive into this here. By the way, if you want to put any comments or anything in there, please do so. I will try to pick up all the comments where possible. If not, I will respond to them after the fact. If you type something in and I haven't responded to it, it's only because it did not show up here in the back end in the studio. But I will jump into and respond to any comments after the live stream is over. So let us, without further ado, get started. So in order to lead different, we need to learn different. And what we're going to introduce you today is what we call our Leadership Evolution Action Plan, which is a new way of thinking about leadership development. And actually how to develop leaders that actually lead differently. Get over here. Okay, so let's get started. You know what it's like for yourself, and I've been through this myself in my years of growing up as a leader, as a practitioner in many organizations, private, public sector, not-for-profits. I've worked in virtually every industry you can imagine, and different size organizations, from large corporates to small businesses to medium-sized not-for-profits. And this is what usually happens. We send our leaders away to a 2-day offsite, 1-day, 3-day, 5-day, you name it, offsite for leadership development. And they come back inspired, right? Wow, it was amazing. The course was great. The facilitator was great. The content was amazing. Met some amazing people. But 3 weeks later, when you look back at the business, nothing's changed. It's kind of what I call fireworks. It's all exciting and it's like, wow, that was amazing. And we were talking about the fireworks. And then by the time we get home, it's darker than what it was while we were there. right? So you're not alone if you're feeling that way. And please understand, it's not your leader's fault that that happens. It's the model that's broken. Because there's a thing that's killing your training budget, and that is what is known as the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Now, this was discovered by Ebbinghaus in 1885, so this isn't new stuff, right? But what it was studied and still holds true today is that 79% of what your leaders learned last month is already gone. And if you look at the forgetting curve, it's basically saying 58%, you'll only retain about 58% after 20 minutes of the learning. And then 33% after the next day, 25% after about 6 days, and within 31 days, like a month, you're lucky to retain 21% of what you learned. So that's definitely not a training problem. That's a design problem that you have with your business, with the leadership development you're doing for your business. So the way we're training people, the design of leadership training courses and programs is part of the problem. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever gone to the gym or built a muscle, but you don't go to the gym for three to 5 days in a row and then walk out feeling like Arnold Schwarzenegger or whoever the latest and greatest Mr. or Mrs. Universe is today, right? It takes time. You lift some heavy weights with right there. You don't read a book. No one's ever read a book on weight training and put on 50 pounds of muscle. So you can go and learn all the things you need to do. You have to go to the gym. You have to lift weights. You tear your muscles a little bit. You let them rest and recover. They rebuild stronger. Then you go back and do some more. So what the science is telling us is that initial learning drops off dramatically, that each review flattens the curve. Waiting equals more forgotten. But spaced repetition beats cramming any day. Now, I crammed an exam and made my way through high school, but I assure you, if I had slowly but surely built up over a period of time, I would have done far better. So before we get too far into this, I think it's really important that you understand who we are at Circle Leadership and why you should trust what we're about to share with you. So please understand that we are a team of practitioners. I've been a practitioner of leadership. Took my very first leadership role in probably 1989 when I was a supervisor in the bank. And I've taken up leadership roles ever since. And I've been training and developing leaders since 2001 as a practitioner in organizations and as a leadership coach as well. And I've done it in 3 different continents. Our whole team here are all practitioners of leadership. We've all been in businesses, and we're all a bunch of characters, hence the picture. And Justin has his own book on leadership, as well as myself, and then Gavin has his. And then Nikki, Jordan, and Colin are all practitioners of leadership. And none of us are theorists or academics, although we are backed by theory and academics in the work that we do. So we are real leaders who have done this out in the workplace. Me, myself, as Dave Clare, I'm the Master Certified Practitioner here at Circle Leadership. Apart from being proud dad of 3 amazing humans and what I'd like to think of the self-proclaimed husband of the year, many years, I'm also the international chair for the Intercontinental Chamber of Commerce. I'm an ambassador for the Global Company Culture Association. I'm an ambassador for Inspiring Rare Birds and mentoring female leaders and entrepreneurs across Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea. Also authored 3 books, Simplified, Humane, and It's Time to Lead Different. But you'll find me as a blunt contrarian on leadership. And most importantly, I'm a far worse golfer than I think I am. But that's a little bit about me, just so you know who you're dealing with on this call. Now, please understand this, that today's workforce is built for tomorrow's workplace, which means the leaders that you have today are not the leaders you need for tomorrow. Okay, today's workforce is already ready for what we need to have in our organizations. We're just not ready for them. And modern thinking, though, in today's world, if you want to think about if we looked at what I would call traditional thinking, modern thinking in today's world, effective learning requires 3 to 7 repetitions, right? There was a study done many years ago, and it said for 60% of things to be retained, it won't happen until after the 6th repetition. So whatever learning you're doing, it's going to take repetition. How you learn to walk, talk, ride a bike, drive a car, play the guitar, anything that you've ever learned has taken spaced repetition to do so. So why does leadership development, why do we think we can do that in 1, 3, or 5 days? or one day a month over 8 days of going into workplaces and looking at leadership and being lectured to, right? We have to understand that this is the way that humans learn, and we need to apply that methodology to how we help them to learn to become the leaders that they're capable of. It needs to be spaced out over time. It needs to be active rather than passive, and it needs to be in different contexts, right? Self-directed, group reinforced, embedded in practice. One of the biggest challenges I find most leadership development is its content's okay, and you go there, but there's no practical application of that content immediately. You forgot most of it by the time you get to the workforce, and then the part that you could have used, which you've already forgotten, it's already past the time when you could have used it. So modern thinking around development, well, this is just development in any learning and development that you do, these are the things you need to consider. It should be spaced out over time, active rather than passive, and it needs to be in different contexts, whatever you're going to do in your organization. So please understand, this is why it's time to lead different. Not harder, not louder, different. So I usually would ask people this question whenever I do any speaking or workshops we run around the world, and that is, what does leadership mean to you? When you think about the concept of leadership, what does it mean? Not what does it look like? What does leadership mean? And this is the answer that we have. I was asked many years ago, Dave, you talk about leadership. You've been doing this for a long time. What does leadership mean to you? And I had to stop and think about it. And I took my time, and this was the definition that I came up with for me and how we define what leadership means. And to us, leadership's all about helping other people become the best version of themselves so they can do their life's best work while in your care and beyond. Now, when you read that definition of leadership, where and there does it say that you need a position or title to demonstrate leadership? Hopefully, you should see that it doesn't. So the first thing that when we talk about developing leadership is, how do we develop all around leadership, not more top-down layers of leaders in your organization, right? So how do we build leadership depth and strength, right? So when we talk about depth, we're going deeper into the concept of leadership and more leadership throughout your organization, hence the strength. So we want to create all around leadership, not top-down leadership. Right? The second part of this definition of leadership here, which is absolutely crucial as well, is the last line, while in your care and beyond. When you think about while in your care and beyond, what does that tell you about leadership? Hopefully what it should start you thinking about is it's more than just while they're in the workplace. So basically what this should be saying is that I actually care about you as a human being first and an employee second. I care about who you are because I want to help you become the best that you can. I want to create an environment where you can bring your best self to work every day. Then I want to help you become more of what you're capable of while you're here. And if I do that, I know you'll do great work while you're here, right? Because I care about you as a human being. And if that sets you up to go on to greater things in life, that's awesome. That's what we're supposed to do. Okay. This, by the way, is not a philosophy. This is a commercial imperative in today's world. The most human organization is the one that wins. Now, when you think about your organization, this is the interesting part today. What can be copied in your business? So if you think about your business today and all the things that can be copied, people can copy your brand, your bricks and mortar, your clicks and mortar, your processes, procedures, your tech stack, your products and services. They can copy everything about your business. They can even copy your AI, by the way. What's the one thing that they can't copy, though? Right? This is the most important part here. The one thing that they can't copy is your ability to capture the spirit of your people. So your one true sustainable competitive advantage is your ability to capture the spirit of your people. It's your culture, obviously, that is your competitive advantage. Therefore, it lives inside your people. Leaders who can unlock this, right? This is where, once again, the whole sense of leadership development, you need human leaders because they're the ones who are going to unlock this. The ones that can't unlock this are suppressing your ability to evolve and grow as a business, right? It's like telling your child to grow and pushing down. So instead of having a culture where everybody's lifting everybody up, we end up with leaders who are pushed down on people because they don't understand how to capture the spirit of people and unleash the humanity in your organization into the world, right? But this is why leadership is so important, because that's how you capture the spirit of your people. And that's your one true sustainable competitive advantage, Okay, AI will help you maintain competitiveness, but your only competitive advantage is your people. And here's the other thing. Please understand this, that businesses do not run out of money. Businesses run out of ideas and innovation. And ideas and innovation come from people, not budgets, nor AI. Therefore, it's a finding game, not a funding game. You need to find the best talent, retain the best talent, and develop the living daylights out of that talent. And that takes leadership. So we can't keep training leaders today the way we have in a world where the most human organization wins, when most of what leadership training is today is modern management with the odd emotional intelligence piece or a little crucial conversations unit plugged in. It has to be all about people and understanding how people became who they are and help them become who they're capable of, right? And how to unlock that creativity, the curiosity, the imagination, the intuition, the empathy, the critical thinking of the human beings, and unleash that in your organization. So every dollar you invest in leadership is either compounding or evaporating because of this. So let's talk about the Leadership Evolution Action Plan. So why is what we're proposing in terms of learning different to lead different, why is this so important? Well, understanding how traditional thinking and modern thinking works, we have developed a methodology that we traditionally have only ever offered to our clients as part of their process. So when they've built out their business evolution roadmap and they go into our Next 90 business evolution system, we then offer them Leadership Evolution Action Plan, because our business will only evolve as much as we evolve, right? We are here, we built this business. Now we want a business that's way up here. Well, then who do we need to become in order to do that? So we need to help the leadership team evolve. Also, we need to make sure that the leadership team can go first to create space and capacity for the rest of the team to follow. Because when you don't, if you develop your people and not your leadership, then you end up either pushing down or people end up leaving the organization. Okay, so evolving our people and leadership is critical in the organization. So we created our Leadership Evolution Action Plan. Now we offer it out to the public as a public offering for leadership development. It is built on a couple of fundamental principles or philosophies. The first one here is less is more, more often. Okay? Stop adding programs and start building better leaders, please. Leadership is a process, not a program. Okay, programs have start and finish dates. Someone will complete their leadership program and they come back with a big certificate up on the wall above their head and go, don't talk to me about leadership. I have the certificate to prove it. I know what I'm doing. Now, please understand, I've been doing leadership, as I said, for over 3 decades, over 3 continents, and I'm still learning. As the world evolves, as people change, as generations change, as technologies change, as businesses change, we got to keep learning how to lead differently. So firstly, leadership's a process, not a program. And it's built on the premise of that less is more, more often. Okay, I'd rather you focus on less and achieve more with that and do that more often. This is why we develop what we call our content times context equals concept methodology. Okay? All right, this is why it's built differently than any other leadership program you may have tried in the past. Because firstly, it's built off content that is human-centric, leading people, all right, and going deeper into the concept of leadership. So the content is relevant to leading humans. There's precision-based learning modules. They're bite-sized, evidence-based, and designed for commercial reality. Right? Then you take that content, and then that self-learning, the content that you absorb, then you multiply that by context. So you can take that content and contextualize it right into your workplace in that moment as to what does that not only mean for me, my organization, the leader I want to become, and the teams and our organizations that we're working with. So we have real world application with peer cohort learning and embed it into your actual work. So you take this correct content that's human centric, then you contextualize it with peers and workplace application immediately to start to understand the context of the learning. Then you put in an action place to embed that concept, which creates the lasting behavioral change. So you end up having leaders who lead differently, and the results that will start to show up that people are becoming more of what they're capable of. Because traditional leadership training will help you maybe gain more knowledge, but knowing and doing are 2 different things, right? So we have these leaders who seemingly know more, but they're not doing anything more, or they're not doing anything different. Okay, they may be reinforcing what they already know to be true, but what we're talking about here is the right content with the right context, with the right action plan, will embed the concept. And then you rinse and repeat that cycle every month. Okay, so we teach the content to the individual, we educate the context in group coaching, then you take your action plan and embed the concept in your workplace immediately. Also, what the LEAP has been built on is the Pareto principle. Now, Pareto was an Italian economist who found that 20% of the country's wealth belonged, 80% of the country's wealth belonged to 20% of the population. And that has been tested time and time again in different situations and scenarios. So it's known as the Pareto principle or the 80-20 principle. But this is where it works here for leadership development. Please understand that if you go to the 1-day, 3-day, 5-day courses and programs and to get your certificate and your credit, and like, so you can tick a box, yes, certificates and credits are done. What we believe in this less is more and more often thought process is that I'd rather you focus on the 20% that's going to give you 80% of the biggest difference in your business, right? Because instead of spending the whole day working on some things and you go, hey, this 20% is going to produce the 80, but then I spend the remaining like 2 hours, we're focused on that, but the remaining 6 hours is only going to give me a 20% improvement. Well, wouldn't it make more sense then to take that extra 80% of time and put it into the 20% that's going to give you the 80%? Because you're not making time for the 20 that would give you the 80 anyway, because you're not putting it back into the workplace immediately. So if you take more bite-sized piece approach, you take that 20%, that one concept, and you go deep into that and you have more time to work on that one, you're going to extrapolate your return on investment in that content that you've absorbed and contextualized and embedding into your workplace. So focus on the 20% that will give you the 80, then take the remaining 80% and put it back into the 20%. That's how you actually get compounding results. Right? So as you can see, each session in LEAP is structured like this. There's self-learning for 2 weeks. Now, once again, 3 to 7 times. So in the 2 weeks, you need, if you watch the content, the video, there's video, audio, and obviously written content. So depending on your learning style, you can take that piece of content, you listen to it or watch it or read it twice a week over the period of 2 weeks. That's 4 times. So you minimum 4 times to start to take ownership of the content. Then you attend the group coaching session where we have our peers and our practitioners, our certified practitioners involved to help you contextualize what that means into your workplace. And you're working with peers from other organizations. So you're getting exposure to other people's ideas and thoughts on that same concept that you're working on or the piece of content that you're contextualizing. And then you're going to be able to really start to really understand what does that mean to me and my business. And then the remaining 2 weeks, you have a simple action plan that you've been a takeaway that you've developed. You own the action plan to start to embed the concept. Learn the content on your own, contextualize it together, and then take your actions and embed it directly into your workplace. Right? And then as you can see on beside that model is starting with who am I, the transformation model. You start doing that one thing this month, and you keep doing that. The next month, you take the next piece, and then you do that content times context equals concept, and then you do that, and then so on and so on. So over a period of 12 months, you've embedded 12 different things, 12 different lessons or concepts, if you wish, into your business. So 2 weeks of self-directed content, 2 hours of live cohort training and contextualization, coaching, and facilitating, and 2 weeks of embedded into real work. And then you repeat that across all 12 modules over the year, and each module is designed to build on the last one. So let's take a little closer look at the Leadership Evolution Action Plan. Okay. So when we talk about leadership development, we're talking about going deeper into the concept of leadership, not more layers of leadership. We have three depths of leadership that we go into the concept of leadership. The first one is leadership of self, because it's well known that you can't lead anybody else until you can lead yourself. So we focus on leadership of self first. And the key to self-leadership is self-awareness. So the first 3 months are spent on understanding human behavior, organizational behavior, how your mind works, comfort zones, and really getting clear on who the leader is that you want to become as you look at the remaining part of the year that you're involved in the process. Then once you've understood that, then you can now go and be a leader of teams. And then you can actually look at how can I take this learning and help other people to do the same. And then there's 6 modules that we go through in terms of leader of teams. right? And then once you've done that, and then you go, wow, I know how to lead teams now. Then the last part is then how do I lead the business? All right. So then taking that, how do I facilitate all that collective wisdom that we've developed of myself, the team, and then be able to achieve massive business outcomes as a result of that? So it's three modules of leadership of self, 6 on leader of teams, and then the last 3 are lead the business. And everyone follows the exact same methodology and process. But then you're going deeper into the concept of leadership. Leadership of self, leader of teams, lead the business. And then in each session, there's actually the modules that you work through. And then in the toolbox, there's a whole bunch of tools as well that are available to you to be able to use to support you with that. So you get full access to the Circle Leadership Toolbox as you go through the Leadership Evolution Action Plan at the same time. Right? And each session is simply this, can be done on any device, anytime, anywhere. So you're learning in the flow of work. So you don't have to wait for the contextualized session when you're doing this. And these sessions are, I think you find like it's 8, this one's a 9-minute session, for example. So 9 or 10 minutes, you can watch this and you can start to put it right into the workplace before you even get to the contextual session. But it's available, it can be done on your phone, at your desktop, doesn't matter what device you want to use it on, right? And then each module includes video lesson, the description. You can have the audio, of course, as well. There's diagrams, models, or templates that are in the session that are there for you to use to work on while you're going through it, and space to leave comments and ask questions in the platform, right? So you can sit there and go, hey, I need this, and either one of your peers can jump in or one of our certified practitioners can jump in and support you through that. So you don't have to wait to get some understanding and some learning, right? And you can see that this is me teaching this particular one. This is 9 minutes and 49 seconds. This particular one, this is basically on how your mind works. So a simple video that I go through and a whiteboard, and there's the whiteboard that would be there. There's the blank template, and then I'm sitting there creating this image as we go through it, and you can copy and repeat and do the same thing. So you're practicing and rehearsing it while I'm doing it as well. And then, as I said, you get access to the full Circle Leadership Toolbox, all the tools, templates, models, forms, you name it, resources that you may need to assist you as you evolve and become the leader that you're capable of. Right? So there's all this sort of stuff, and there's a bunch of other lessons and things that you can also access if you choose to, and things you can put in like other exercises and tools that you can put into your organization too. So if you want to work on some things with your teams, there's templates and all that you can use for that too. So what's the real cost of doing nothing? Now, I would say a conservative cost of losing 2 senior managers or leaders in a single year is probably going to cost you about $600,000. Now, heck, let's bring it down to 300,000. Let's bring it down to 100,000. Right? The fact is, if you do nothing, it's going to cost you. If you keep doing what you're always doing, it's going to cost you. In a world where everything is going like this, and you're still doing the same thing you've always done, doing the same training for the same people, and you're falling further behind. Okay, that is going to be a massive cost to your organizations because we want to make sure that you can lead at best, respond at worst, but never have to react to what's happening around you. And if you don't have the people in there that are helping you with the leadership development of the humans, you will be left behind because the most human organization will win. The organization that wins is the one that outbehaves the other. And what drives behavior is how we think. So if we don't shift the way we think about things, no new behaviors will be sustainable. Thus, you will fall behind. It's simple human behavior. 70% of employees are actually disengaged in the work they're doing right now, and leadership is the primary cause of that. 10% of most leadership budgets are spent on things that actually matter. So only 10% of what people spend actually is on something that actually makes a difference. And please remember, people don't leave companies, they leave leaders or managers, right? And how many hours a week do you spend compensating for leadership gaps you've already paid to close? So when you think about like all the investment you've made in leadership development and training and all that, how many hours a week are you spending still trying to close the gap on those things that you've already spent money on? There's a massive cost to that. And if you add it all up, I assure you it would be more than $100,000. So here's what other leaders are saying about our process. And I won't go into this because you can go to the landing page and you can see what other people think about the Leadership Evolution Action Plan and the difference this methodology makes to them. But what I want to introduce you to is that we have a new cohort starting at the end of May, at the end of this month. And there'll be 20 seats. We like to keep each cohort to around 20 people so we can maximize the amount of time in the coaching context and provide the highest level of support and experience for those in the process. So this is a structural limit. It's definitely not a sales device. I would love to have 1,000 people in, but we don't want to put that because that would compromise the ability to deliver, which defeats the purpose. It's a 12-month process. Evolution doesn't have a finish line. So once you've done that, then you can go into the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. This one, we're looking to close enrollments by May 15th, by whenever the 20 are filled and or by whatever comes first, that date or the 20. We have 7 people, I believe, already registered for that. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out to us. I'll give you the link in a moment to do that. There's 2 things, as I mentioned earlier, that every outcome in business, and I wrote an article about this on LinkedIn just last week. Every outcome in business is either created by humans or accelerated by AI. Or, most importantly, constrained by how well the 2 work together. So you need to invest in human-centric leadership. I know everyone's busy investing in AI and everything like that, but you can't take a new way of thinking and shove it in your old way of doing and expect it to work. And when you treat people like a resource and then you bring in another resource like AI, you're going to have competing resources rather than completing, once again, where they compound in terms of the way they work together or they work against each other. So getting your culture right and getting your leadership right, where people go, give me the AI, give me the tools, give me the technology to help me unleash my humanity in this workplace. Give me the superhero suit so I can be a superhero for our customers, for our team members, for our community, for whatever it might be. You need to invest in human-centric leadership. Please stop investing. I don't care with us or not, but please stop investing in management because AI is going to take care of most of what management is today. What's going to be left is the human stuff, right? So when people are worried about getting replaced by AI, what we should be asking is, what is it that I can do that AI can't? And how can I get AI to support me to be able to do more of that? So whatever takes the human creativity, the curiosity, the imagination, the intuition, the critical thinking, and the empathy, that's the work that humans must do. Therefore, we need leadership that can unleash that, which is why you need to invest in human-centric leadership development, because you need human-centric leadership in your organization. All right, so 3 steps to get started if you're interested. 1, book a discovery call. I'll send you the link to the landing page. I'll put it here in a moment. There's plenty of places to pick a spot to book a discovery call. Then choose your investment option. We have two different investment options. You can pay all up front, or you can pay a small amount up front and then monthly for a period of time. And then basically get ready to evolve and yourself and or your team that you want to do. And the link is right there, circleleadershipglobal.com/learn-different. I will pop it in the chat though. Your leaders are ready to evolve. The question is, are you ready to invest in them? Okay. So please, anyone has any questions or things like that they want to ask, please put them in the chat after you watch this after the fact, or you've been watching it now. Also, if you want to take a screenshot of this or take a picture of your camera, this will book you a spot straight, just a free conversation to book into my calendar so we can have a chat about what that might look like for you. So I'll just put in the chat here, the landing page. So if you want to go to the landing page, you're welcome to do so. And that is what I wanted to share with you today about learning different and leading different. So just to wrap it up, please understand that everything has changed. The world's changed, business has changed, people have changed, but leadership hasn't. We can no longer keep developing leaders the way we always did because we don't need the leaders we've always had. We need different leaders today. And most of what we called leadership was just modern management practices. So we need people who understand how to lead people. And in order to do that, you need to understand how to lead yourself. Right? So we need to invest in a methodology that is focused on leading humans. Then secondly, we need to invest in a methodology that works perfectly with how humans learn, not trying to cram in exam stuff and get people to know more and not do more. So not only the content has to change, but the way we train the content or teach the content or educate the content has to change too. Okay? So whatever you choose to do, whether it's through Leadership Evolution Action Plan or any other thing, please challenge and question it. The need to get certificates and credits, I get it. It looks good on a resume. It ticks off a box because in people and culture and human resources, hate to use that word, we should have resources for humans, not humans as a resource. Don't get me on that bandwagon. But we can measure success through certificate and credit achievement. It's sometimes harder to measure someone's evolution. But our Leadership Evolution Action Plan, actually part of one of the sessions, is how to set up your development to show where results would show up by you evolving as a leader. So it can be done. It's just being done differently. It's not as easy as just saying they passed their certificate, they've passed their thing. Look at us, we're investing in people. Investing in people is one thing which you should do. But helping people become who they're capable of is what it needs to make sure that it's tied to. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox now. Thus concludes my TED Talk. Thank you all for taking the time to your time and attention to understand this. We're here to help you with whatever it is you need from your own leadership development, and look forward to catching up. If you missed this one and you're watching it post-mortem, I'll be doing it again next Monday as well. So please jump on for that if you want spaced repetition, because apparently it's the mother of all skill. Come in and join us again next Monday, same time.